All right, so this is Eric one more time at Loft and Art talking about figs and kind of looking at these three trees. We're sitting out down here by the creek in the coldest part of the yard all winter, and I don't see a whole lot of dieback on them, which is really good. They're in pots. So that helps retain some heat because of, the black pots catching some solar heat. But looking at them and looking at how developed they are, they're budding out, they're starting to leaf out, they're doing really well. And then looking at something like this that's in the ground, it's at about the same development stage. The major difference in something like this and some of the other trees that I have, this one produces a lot of breva, so it's a natural fit for being in the ground. And it's just, this is its second year in the ground. It's still small. And I piled up some river rocks around it to try and capture some more of that heat. But they're a pain to mow around. And I'm not real good at keeping up my yard, so but that's the major difference, and some of it depends on variety too. So like over here, this is my in-ground Floria, and it's not a fast grower, and it's a little bit more shaded than that other one is, but it's further along, it's earlier in leafing out, so kind of interesting. I really like Floria. I think it's a really good fig for us in the Northwest, especially in the Willamette Valley where we're a little bit warmer than some other parts. You won't have any trouble getting this thing to ripen fruit. So, and then back here, I need to do some cleanup because I pulled out a bunch of blackberry vines. This is Teramo, and it's a little bit, kind of same level as Floria, and the Santa Cruz White that I showed that's in the ground. But they both do really well. They're both early, and they'll produce no problem for me over here against this fence. So they do get morning shade, and they'll get shade until about well, I mean, you can see how soon they'll be in the sun. The problem that I have is that big fir tree up there shades this part of the yard a little bit longer, but usually by about 11 or so, these trees are in full sun. So that's that side of the yard. I've got some more trees, but we don't really, they're in-ground trees. There's nothing really to update about them. This one's got some pretty bad dieback, but it's coming back. I took off several inches off of the top already. So we'll see. This is a new variety that I haven't fruited yet, but it's supposed to be cold hardy. And not so much, but yeah. I guess we can do this real quick. We're only at 4 minutes, so I'm caffeinated. We're gonna talk. All right, up here, and you can see how shaded out this part of my yard is. But up here in the ground, I've got my Satsuma Mandarin. That's right, citrus, Mandarin orange. I think this one's either Brown Select or Owari, and it's in the ground. I put it in the ground back in the fall, which was stupid. But you can see it's not dead by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually got some flower buds. It's gonna pop, and it's got a lot of buds that are starting to grow. It had very, very little dieback. just, I think one branch had a section about this far that died back this winter. And the only protection I gave it was I covered it with a little cold frame with white plastic and some wood, and I wrapped some just old school Christmas lights around it, incandescent Christmas lights. So the reason I planted it here is because it's up against this shed and this fence, but it's also underneath these trees that act as kind of an umbrella during the winter. You want to make sure that if you plant citrus, that from the people I've talked to that know, what you want to do is you want to protect the roots from getting too wet in the wintertime. So I took their lead on it, and I just kind of ran with it. And what's crazy is I actually put a Meyer Lemon seedling in the ground at the same time. This whole branch grew over the winter. It is insane that this thing did so well. So I did the same kind of protection. I put a few Christmas lights, so I just strung one string between the two trees, put a few Christmas lights around the base, and covered it with this bucket. That's all it did all winter. And it's amazing to me that it's doing as well as it is. So I'm gonna roll with it and see what happens. If I can keep the blackberry vines at bay, and keep the chokeweed stuff at bay, we'll be all right. I haven't had time to come out and really mess with anything yet, so the yard is looking a little unkempt. But eventually what I would like to do is have raised beds all along this fence, anywhere that there aren't trees. So I've got some aronia to plant. I've got some Marion berries, a couple other cane berries that I want to plant after I got rid of all the nasty blackberries that were overtaking everything. Maybe I'm dumb for putting in cane berries again, but yeah, there you go. So that's the west side of the yard, and you can see how much the trees shade everything out. The figs that I have planted here were some of my earliest to ripen last year without any protection. So like I've got Tacoma Violet, BI 39, Ronde de Bordeaux, and then that little tiny one there is Sayreville Dark, which is an unknown variety, but they were all super early, and I think they're going to do okay over on this side, even if they're not getting 100% full sun. But it's just a guess. I don't know for sure. I'm not an expert. It's all an experiment, man. So anyway, there we go. I'll do one more video and walk through that other side over there where the dog is. That's Claudie, and Tesla's there in the background. That's where all the sun is, and we'll go from there.